UFC 311 is this weekend. It's the first big fight card of the year, and my goodness, is it a good one. You know your boys at 10-7 MMA got your full fight card breakdown coming right up, so don't go anywhere. What's up, everybody? Welcome back and Happy New Year. Welcome back to a new 2025 first edition together. 10-7 MMA. We're both rusty, I imagine, but hey, man, it feels good to be back. How are you, Dino Bam?
I'm great, brother. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. I'm legit pumped to be here. Obviously, we're here to cover UFC 311. It's a massive, massive card. Yeah, just top to bottom, really good. Even some of the lesser known names and whatnot on the card. The matchups, they're actually pretty decent.
Yeah, you know how we're rusty, DS? Because I'm supposed to start on this side. You feel me?
Yep.
That's how you know we're rusty. But yeah, I feel great. This is a badass card, bro. I mean, you talk about you get these cards that have two title fights. That's always good. But 55 and 35 is something fucking crazy. Then you got the storylines that go along with it, right? Dagestan and Father's Plan. Then you got like Arman Tsarukyan and Russia, Armenia, Dagestan, whatever, Georgia, opposite. There's a lot of fucking shit going on in these last two fights, and then the main card itself is stacked.
You got Alex Pereira's sons fighting each other.
Speaking of which, at the beginning of the 10-7 MMA, the very humble beginnings that we started from, that we came from,
as opposed to now, yeah,
right. Me and you were talking about the future. Jamal Hill versus Yuri Prochazka, and finally we get that fight. So
yeah, and of course they had the viral video with the congratulations, I'm coming,
and he's finally here, bro. He's about to come.
And then Jamal Hill posted but where you at though? He was, I love that Jamal Hill for sure was like, all right, I'm gonna drive to the woods, or somebody drive me to the woods in the snow,
brother. He was in a backyard in like fucking Flint, Michigan, dog. Like it was a chain link fence behind him and shit.
Was it? Okay, yeah. Well, he popped out somewhere. It was just like just to film the video. I do fuck with that. Obviously, Jamal Hill, Yuri is a fan favorite, right? I mean, his personality, especially if you saw the press conference tonight, with the stuff that he's doing with flying the lady in with cancer and shaving his head in solidarity. Just a great guy overall. His stock has never been higher from a pure fan likability standpoint, right? Whereas Jamal Hill, I was a huge Jamal Hill fan, and I mean, it's just hard to be a Jamal Hill fan nowadays with all the stuff that he's been doing on social media and whatnot. But we'll get to all that. Before we get into the fight card, and we've got 14 fights to cover, quite a long one. We'll try to breeze through them for you guys. Is there anything you want to say before we get started for this very first card together of 2025?
The only thing I want to say, DS, I am pumped to be back. 311's about to be a fucking banger. And guys, to the fans, do like the thing at the bottom says, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. It would mean a lot to us. DS, we got to hit that 1,000 mark, bro. It's got to happen. It's got to happen.
If we don't hit 1,000 this year, we're going to quit.
That's how you're doing it?
Yeah.
That's all right. Hey, y'all heard the man. So we don't want to quit. We want to do this, right? Do you want to do this?
Or like maybe we'll do like every now and then for fun, like a video or two, like every couple of weeks, but like just purely for fun, even though that's basically what it is now. But yeah, I mean, to put in the time that we're putting in, and to be 3 years in, and then some chick can, fucking bust her titties out and just get hundreds of thousands of followers. And I get it. Look, I love some titties too. Don't get me wrong. But, help the boys out. Do we need to show titties? Is that what's happening?
I'm saying, brother, if you want to pop one out, it might.
I'll pop one of them bitches out, bro. Get us, once we're at like 750, I'll do a little nip teaser. I will say I have the actual smallest areolas of all time.
He does. They're really... He's got really small nipples. But anyways, guys, like and subscribe, please. Also, you can follow us on Instagram at D107MMA, where I have to say it, DS1, Yuri Prochazka, the guy who's fighting on this card, follows us on Instagram. If Yuri does it, y'all should consider doing it. By the way, sick-ass background choice with Kobe Bryant. That's a DS pick. But
yes, absolutely. I love me some Kobe. And, of course, shout out, I don't know about shout out, but, thoughts and prayers with everybody in LA, especially, J-Mix and his people back in LA. The guy, a Grammy award nominated producer that does our entrance song or our beginning song. So, anyways, let's jump right into number 1 of 14. First fight on The docket, as I like to say, is Tagir Ulanbekov. He's taking on Clayton Carpenter. So we got our first Dagestani right out of the bat. They're fighting at 125. Dino Bam Bam, what do you see happening here?
Yeah, man, the first Dagestani of I want to say 4 on the card, but 3 of these guys are Team Habib guys, right? So it's obviously Tagir Ulanbekov and then the co-main and main event. So Habib's going to be in the corner right off the rip. So Team Habib starting the day off where they want DS, trying to get their first win of 3. And to me, Tagir Ulanbekov is a solid fighter, right? He's kind of that prototypical Dagestani fighter that is pretty damn good. Some good wrestling. The striking's okay. I mean, he's not a striker at all, but it's solid enough, and he uses it to get to the grappling. There's really no confusing what Tagir Ulanbekov wants to do. Good wiry grappler, good submission skills, good scramble skills, as we saw in the fight with Tim Elliott. Probably his most notable fight, even though Tim Elliott cheated a little bit in that fight, but he showed that if you have some grit and determination and you kind of fight him with that aggressive nonstop style, maybe he can be beat. He's taking on Clayton Carpenter, undefeated prospect, good wrestler. Constantly looking for subs after the takedown. A kid who sets a really high pace, DS, and his undefeated MMA record looks small, but the kid's done a lot of fighting outside of the UFC and pre-pro MMA and a bunch of disciplines. But regardless, here I have to take the veteran and Tagir Ulanbekov, and I think just that the experience and honestly the coaching of Habib Nurmagomedov is going to be the difference in this one, by decision, by the way.
Yep, I agree with you fully, man. Tagir Ulanbekov. I mean, look at just look at the resume, right? His one loss, like you said, is to Tim Elliott. He's got wins over Alan Nascimento, Nate Maness, and Cody Durden, right? To me, all of those guys are better than Clayton Carpenter. And I know Clayton Carpenter is younger, but not all that young, right? He's 28 and a half or something like that. And these guys are kind of good at the same thing, right? But to me, it's like Clayton Carpenter, I feel like he's going to try to be the more aggressive fighter here up early on, but it's not like he pushes some crazy pace, right? And neither of these guys are really standouts on the feet to me. And I mean, just in general, they're really not. Tagir Ulanbekov, I still trust his striking a little bit more. At the end of the day, both of these guys are going to want to get it to the ground. To me, man, it's just like where Clayton Carpenter is strong, I just think Tagir Ulanbekov is stronger. Also, like to me, all the 3 guys I listed ultimately will end up being and are currently better than Clayton Carpenter. So to me, this feels like kind of a let's get Dagestan a win early on this card. You got Makhachev and you got Nurmagomedov on this card too. So to me, man, this is a gimme. If you can get this at minus 310 or anything near that, I think this is a perfect parlay piece. I like Tagir Ulanbekov by decision too. I don't think it's going to be like a domination or anything. By the way, I didn't want to make it sound like that. But I'm very confident. I think it'll be fairly close, though.
Yeah, I think it'll be a 2-1 fight. By the way, poor Nate Maness, man. They match him up first with Umar, then they match him up with Tagir. They just feed this guy to the Dagestani like up and coming.
Yeah.
But yeah, anywho, you ready to move on, brother?
Let's move on.
By the way, we agree on the first fight. Love when that happens.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, moving on. Next fight, Ricky Tercios taking on Bernardo Sopaj. Look, man, this is a fight that we've already broken down, I'm pretty sure, right? And
like 2 or 3 times.
This is the 3rd time, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So nothing's changed for me. I'm not going to go on a long-winded thing here. Ricky Tercios, to me, the main word that describes him right now in his current form, uninspiring, right? I'm just uninspired by Ricky Tercios, which is weird, man. Like coming off the Ultimate Fighter, he was somebody that I really liked. I love the energy. Right now, I think all you can kind of say about him that's kind of an all-encompassing positive is that he's well-rounded, right? But other than him being well-rounded, he also doesn't stand out anywhere. He doesn't have great power. He doesn't have like super slick, crazy submissions where he'll catch you in any, way, shape, or form. So to me, I don't see a possible way where you can pick Ricky Tercios. And unlike the last fight that we just talked about, I don't think this is going to be particularly close, right? On the other side, you've got Bernardo Sopaj. And, we know what happened to him his first UFC fight. And fuck, man, that's not a great way to start your UFC career, right? On the other end, on the losing end of the knockout of the year, essentially, last year. Massive knee that just blew his face off. So, look, man, the only thing that I think Tercios has on Sopaj, who I think is actually not bad as a fighter. He passed the eye test to me before that. He's got good striking. He's got decent submissions. He's well-rounded, and I think he's better everywhere, quite frankly. The only place that I think he may not potentially be better is the cardio. But again, it's not like Ricky Tercios is pushing some pace at this point. So I just don't see it for Tercios. Give me Sopaj by give it to me by second round TKO.
All right, a couple things, DS. I mean, I agree with 95% of what you said. Just two things I want to add on. Number one, when it comes to Bernardo Sopaj, right, the saving grace in that knockout is also the kind of thing that worries me, right? He's only like 24 years old. You don't want to see a young kid, a kid that young, get his chin cracked in his first UFC fight. Probably a bad thing. But then again, he is young, right? So he could recover, and hopefully he does. As far as Ricky Tercios,
just something else real quick too, dude. It's a fucking perfectly timed flying, like double flying knee, you know, like a switch flying knee, you know what I mean? Like, that was just, it was meant to be, right? Like, there's only so much you can do about that, right?
And he was exhausted. And that's the other thing I wanted to touch on. Basically, I don't think his cardio is that bad. You got to remember, he took that fight on very, very short notice. It was like 4 or 5 days, and he was kind of kicking some ass in the first 2 rounds until he got winded. So I'm not like overly concerned with Bernardo Sopaj. I am still a little bit concerned with that being said. Man, I'm going decision Sopaj. I've seen a lot of people picking Ricky Tercios. I don't get it. I don't think he has the power to put this kid out, and I think that's probably what he's going to have to do.
Yep. All right, we agree on the first two. Moving on to the third fight of the night, we've got Rinya Nakamura, the huge, massive Japanese prospect, non-stature. They're fighting at 135. But in terms of growing name value and one of the few rare wrestlers, right, from that region too. And he's taking on Muin Gafurov. He's 19-6. Rinya Nakamura, of course, undefeated, fighting at 135. What do you see happening here?
Rinya Nakamura, man, he's an absolute beast. You mentioned the wrestling and coming from that region of the world. Not only is he a good wrestler from Japan, he's like one of the best. He was a multi-time like national champion.
He's an Olympic champion level wrestler.
That's what I'm saying, right? Competed for the national team, shit like that. So he's
we can't overstate that by any means, even if we wanted to. Like, his wrestling is genuinely elite, like Dagestani level, like wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, he again national level, right? And that means something. He's really, and it works. It translates really well to MMA. One other thing, I like his fighting style, right? He's so aggressive on the feet. He has a lot of natural power. You could tell he just wings shit and he goes for it because he's not concerned about being taken down. It's a massive advantage that some of these guys get to fight with in MMA and in the UFC especially. He's got that. Muin Gafurov, sort of a similar fighter, right? A wrestler, some good power on the feet. He's just a little worse than Rinya Nakamura at everything. So that's the reason I can't take Muin Gafurov in this one. I mean, I expect this to be a walkthrough kind of thing. I think the UFC is trying to give the kid a layup. So I'm going Rinya Nakamura round 1, maybe early round 2 TKO to ground and pound after dropping Muin Gafurov. The kid's legit, man. He's like an Asian Michael Chandler, like a young Michael Chandler, but less dumb.
Yeah. Okay. Fair. I wasn't on board at first, but okay, fine. Yeah, man. You pretty much said it. Look, I'm really, really high on Rinya Nakamura. Male prospects, right, with a lot of hype from that region. And look, sometimes we got the Dana effect, right, where he wants to make fetch happen, as the kids used to say. I don't know if they still say it.
Yeah, definitely.
You're right, but yeah, look, man, he's legit the real deal. I think his wrestling is better than Muin Gafurov, and I don't think it's I think Muin Gafurov is a really, really good wrestler too. And yes, this will be the best opponent that Rinya Nakamura has fought in the UFC. I don't respect the striking of Muin Gafurov. I think Rinya will actually be able to have some success there, even just purely off athleticism. That might be the easiest route to victory here. But I think ultimately, you're going to see it's going to be a tough fight. It's going to go back and forth, right? Because Muin Gafurov has a lot of experience too. And when you have two high-level wrestlers, this just kind of tends to happen. If it's purely if we're talking about purely about the striking, Rinya takes it easily for me. I'm fighting myself if I want to go Rinya by decision or submission, so everything but what you picked. But I'm going to go by decision, man. I think Muin Gafurov manages to survive. Minus 500 is a little crazy, but I get it. There's a lot of talent there.
And here's the thing. He may not be fetch, as you were saying, but he's definitely skibbity. So,
For sure. 100%. 100%. All right, let's move on to the next fight of the card, fourth one on the docket, and it is our first women's fight. No Dagestani ladies.
Yay.
Beg your
What?
pardon?
I said,
Oh, yeah.
yay.
Woo.
Also, we need some Dagestani women in this shit, bro.
Yo, I was just thinking that. Once I
Take
said
the
it, I was
fuck
thinking
over,
that, like,
bro.
smart. They got they got the shits too. They just got
shit.
their hair like tied like that.
Damn. Okay.
No disrespect. I'm not trying to disrespect nobody. Anyway, first women's fight of the night is Carol Rosa versus Ailin Perez.
What's all that back there, bro? What's all that back there?
What's all that movement back there? Look, man, this is an interesting one, right? Because like everything that I know and everything that I've seen and all this stuff is telling me to pick Carol Rosa, right? She's a minus 200 something favorite. And Ailin Perez, pretty one-dimensional if you think about it. Aside, well, I guess two-dimensional if you count the twerking too, but or three-dimensional if you count each cheek. But yeah, look, she wants to get it to the ground. She wants to just kind of work the ground and pound and keep you on the ground. And I don't think it's going to be simple to do that with Carol Rosa. They're both 30 years old, right? So there's not like some sort of crazy age difference here. When you look at the record of Carol Rosa, she had a win over your girl Penny Kianza in August of 2024. Before that, she lost to Irene Aldana, and she has a win over Yana Santos. So, look, man, I think to me, really, what this comes down to is how far do you think Ailin Perez can go, right? Like I wasn't a believer, right? But she just keeps getting it done, and I'm very, very, very tempted to pick her. But ultimately, I think I'm still. I think I'm still just gonna go with Carol Rosa. I'm gonna go Carol Rosa by decision. I think by split decision. I think this is gonna be razor close. And I think the odds are swaying me a little bit. Plus 210 for Ailin Perez. Feels like I should take her, but maybe we'll talk about that on the betting side of things. And by the way, I'm sorry I keep saying I'm just rusty. So, but I heard myself say it a few times, but now I'm actively trying not to say it. So
I'll point it out the next time you do if I catch it.
I appreciate it.
Now here's what I'm saying, DS. Ailin Perez, she is like, okay, she's popular, right? The twerking got her really popular. She's an OnlyFans girl. So like that is going to fucking boom you in popularity.
I'm not gonna lie, it looks like it'd be stanking a little though.
Probably, bro. And she had Paulo Costa smacking it. The UFC knew what they were doing. They had Merab.
I'd smack it around a little. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I mean, just one or two smacks on each of the cheeks. That never hurt nobody. But look, they knew what they were doing. They had Merab smacking that booty last time, and they're like, you know what? These two got to go together. These two have to stay together. So they threw her on this card, and I get it. Now, look, she is.
You think he crushed
Merab?
Yeah,
I think Merab be slaying low key.
Well, I think so too, dude.
Yeah, I think.
There's no way you're that happy if you're not getting pussy. I'll tell you.
I'm saying,
I'll take that right now. So the day after you get pussy, especially if you weren't expecting to, you're just like,
damn, it just popped up on you.
Be saying shit like, "Great morning, isn't it? Like, how fucking the weather's beautiful." Like, just talk about the weather and shit.
Type shit. So yeah, that's the energy he's got. But hey, look, so being that popular, she's been one of the more popular underdog picks this week. I've seen a lot of people picking her. I get it, man. There's something to be said about people that are hot, and I don't mean like physically attractive. I mean kind of on a roll, right? And she is on a roll. But again, I'm just going to go with what I see on film. I agree with you, man. Carol Rosa, to me, is just a better fighter. Ailin Perez giving me a lot of Vanessa Demopoulos vibes, and it's not the OnlyFans thing, as I said, like the stripper and the OnlyFans. It's none of that
got one too?
Vanessa Demopoulos used to be a stripper.
Oh, okay.
So I was just kind of comparing the two. I don't know how these two fields of sex work like coincide, but I'm just saying, like, not because of that, but because of just like the determination, man, like getting into the sport kind of like later on, like just living that life. And it looks like Ailin Perez is really living that life right now and taking this shit serious. I just don't think she's that good, man. I'm going to stay with Carol Rosa by decision. I'm down.
If we get to 2,000 subs this year, I'll sign up for like an amateur fight. I'll sign up for like Golden Gloves or some shit, you know.
I'll put cream on you.
Fuck yeah, dude. Hell yeah.
But yeah, look, I don't think Ailin Perez is that good. I get it though. She might be worth a sprinkle. We're gonna find out if she is when you make your little betting video tomorrow.
I could see money coming in on her too, dude. So I don't know if it's gonna be worth it ultimately.
I could see a lot of things coming in on her.
Oh, oh. All right, moving on. Next fight on the card, we've got Zach Reese, who beat up Davies'
Oh,
boy.
is it not Grant Dawson? My bad. Okay. No, you good.
That's Max, brother.
Okay, you good.
Zach Reese versus what the fuck? Cedric Dumas back. This is the first I'm hearing of this. I'm not gonna lie.
Are you serious?
Right here, live on the show. Azamat Bekoev. Who the fuck is that guy, bro? He's like just judging off the name. Zach Reese has no chance. Zach Reese. Zach Reese. I don't know why I just felt like Trump there, but I'm sorry. Go ahead, bro.
No, you're good. Yeah. SD Dumas pulled out like 2 days ago, 3 days ago. Asma Bakoyev took the fight. He's an LFA champion, DS. I mean, he's exactly what you think he is. He's Dagestani. He's that exact style. He's a little bit boring. He's not one of the super fun ones, but he's fucking effective as shit. He has some good control on the ground, some decent power, decent ground and pound, decent sub skills. He is your prototypical, pretty damn good Dagestani guy. And he's fighting Zach Reese, a 6'4", big-bodied ass dude with real finishing ability, crazy power on the feet, really good submission skills from what we've seen. The thing with Zach Reese, Diaz, and me and you have actually had a lot of conversations about him. I just don't know how good he is, right? He beat.
I don't either. I would have loved to see him against somebody like Cedric. Like, I was gonna pick him by submission and by second round submission, and if he was gonna fight SD Dumas, but
yeah, I had him beating SD as well. But I had him beating SD Dumas as well.
Here's they're kind of similar. Like, I just think Zach Reese more talented, but those two guys are kind of similar in the fact that I kind of know who SD Dumas is, I guess, but Zach Reese is like, he's dangerous, right? He's a finisher, but also like, man, he has a lot of holes.
That's what I'm saying, right? We seen him fight two friends of the channel, Cody Brundage, and then we also saw him fight Eli Aronoff on the Contender Series on Dancing with the Stars. In both of those fights, DS, he kind of like in the Eli fight, he had Eli fucked him up early on, quick as shit, and then he found himself a sub. So it's just like, then you're losing to Cody Brundage. Like, no shade towards Cody Brundage, but it's like, how good are you, man? Like, I don't know. He has some serious finishing power. He's a brute. I could see a knockout, but I'm going Azamat Bakoyev by decision. But if you're taking Zachary, hold on, I am totally fucked up. My notes say Zachary, so I'm gonna go Zachary by knockout, but Bakoyev will probably win. But I'm just going based off my notes.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's insane as fuck, honestly.
Brother. Yeah, it's probably Azamat Bakoyev. Fuck it. I'm changing it live. But if you're going to pick Zach Reese, it's a first round knockout, right? He has no cardio. He goes for it, but probably the Dagestani.
I can see him getting a sub.
Maybe.
Nah, hell no. Not anymore. I'm just kidding. When it was versus SD, obviously, yeah, but
not if he's fighting against Dagestan.
That song, low key, I'm not gonna lie, I've been bumping that this week. Kind of hits.
He's not beating one of those guys, you know, brother. They're from Crazy Mountain.
Yep. All right, man. Moving on to the next fight on the card, we've got. Nope. Yep. Grant Dawson. He's taking on Diego Ferreira. This is me, right?
This is you.
Fuck, man. This is a very tough one for me. I'm not gonna lie.
Feels like a trap, doesn't it? Don't it? Looks a little something like a trap, don't it?
Feels a little like the trap, don't it? It really does, because Grant Dawson should be able to execute his game plan, and of course, his game plan is going to be to take Diego Ferreira down. And he is much more intentional, right? He's much more able to get the fight to the ground than somebody like Diego Ferreira. But, man, if you look at the body of work, right? And let's talk about Grant Dawson real quick, right? So, obviously, he had the loss to Bobby Green. Brutal first-round knockout loss. After that, he beat Joe Selecki and Rafa Garcia. Rafa Garcia is pretty good, right? Joe Selecki, I'm not terribly high on him, right? So, I don't know, man. Like, they were two big steps down in competition. Before that, he beat Damir Ismagulov, decent win. Mark Madsen and Jarrett Gordon, like, are those good wins? Like, I don't think so, man. So, absolutely, this could be a trap, right? Especially when you look at the body of work for Diego Ferreira, because he's got his last fight, and granted, it was almost, not quite a year ago, but it was like 8 months ago. He beat Mateusz Rebecki because Rebecki basically gassed himself out, and then he ended up getting knocked out with like 10 seconds left, right? Or TKO'd with like 10 seconds left. He also has a knockout over Michael Johnson, but then we know who Michael Johnson is, right? Sometimes I don't have to say, right? We know the damn conundrum with him. He lost to Mateusz Gamrot. So the body of work, man. the biggest thing here is that Diego Ferreira is 39 years old and doesn't have good takedown defense, right? So is Grant Dawson going to be able to get him to the ground and keep him there? Ah, fuck, man. And he's officially 40 years old now, not 39. He's 40 years old. So 10-year age difference. I don't know, man. This is really tough. Like, I'm not betting this. I'll tell you right now. And if I was, I'm betting Diego Ferreira. If these odds stick, I'm going to go Diego Ferreira, man. I'm going to go Diego Ferreira. I'm going to go by second round knockout for Diego Ferreira. It's 50-50 to me. It's legit very 50-50 to me. And I think me and you've already talked about it. This is going to be kind of a theme on this card. I'm going to go with the underdog pick here. Not very confident because I absolutely could see, and it's very likely that Grant Dawson gets him down, is mostly able to hold him there, and we end up with a boring fight and a Grant Dawson decision victory. But it is what it is.
DS, man, I'm in the same exact boat as you, except I have to pick Grant Dawson. But yes, this has been the fight. Like, I mean, there's a bunch of fights on this card, about 2 or 3 of them that I've been like flip-flopping on, and this is one where like I feel like it is the smart play to go with Diego Ferreira. He's a veteran grappler. Yes, his takedown defense isn't phenomenal. He scrambles really damn well, and he's a world-class jiu-jitsu player. So he could definitely cause some problems for Grant Dawson. This is a guy that went to 2 decisions, one of them being a split decision with Beneil Dariush in his prime. This is a guy that has been on a knockout streak as of late, so his striking's been getting better. And Grant Dawson can be very boring, and being boring, you could lose some fucking rounds. Just, let's say he's losing on the feet for 2-3 minutes, gets a takedown, and just kind of holds Diego Ferreira down. How do the judges score that round, right? So I could see the upset. I have to go with Grant Dawson, but I will definitely be sprinkling on Diego Ferreira.
Yeah, and I may change my pick. By the way, I might be texting you before let the record show. As we
what we got to start doing? We got to start posting the let the record shows on Instagram. So
yeah,
in case anyone gives a shit.
I just want to mention something as an overarching theme that we haven't discussed or touched on yet. This is in LA, right? And if you don't know what that means, the LA Commission and everything that's surrounding all the back end stuff, one of the probably the most sensitive commission, right? Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Except for when they let John Jones scrap.
Yeah, that was fucking crazy. But generally speaking, so take that with a grain of salt. If there's, if we have a bad cut, the doctor might come out with like a blue-haired pixie cut and be like, yeah. All right. Anyway, moving on to the next fight on the card. We've got, you're fucking tweaking, bro.
Brother, this is the bout order. I don't know what you're looking at.
I'm looking at Tapology.
This was the bout order. What's next?
We always use Tapology.
Brother, I used Tapology. Is it Bogdan?
Bogdan versus Billy Alicana, yeah.
All right. See, that was 2 fights ahead of this earlier. But anyways, let's break this.
Honestly, it's probably best that it's not.
All right, let's break this one the fuck down, I guess.
All right, go for it. Bogdan Guskov, Billy Alicana.
All right, Bogdan Guskov, guys, the Uzbek Anthony Smith, as we know, that is his doppelganger. Good power, DS, man, a great stand-up fighter, very off rhythm. Like, he looks very technical, but he throws shit at weird intervals, and it seems to just trick a lot of people, man. He seems to catch them off guard. I think he's really solid on the feet. You look at his name, it ends in an OV. That means he's got some solid grappling as well. I just don't think that he'll need his grappling this one. Billy Alicana, a stand-up fighter, right? A kickboxer, came to us from the LFA, but before that, he was in the PFL, and before that, he was on the PFL Challenger Series. Just a solid fighter, 29 years old, 7-1, good power, good finishing ability. I just think he's walking into a fucking buzzsaw taking this fight on like 5 days' notice. This was supposed to be Johnny Walker versus Bogdan Guskov.
And I would have really, really loved to have seen that because Guskov is one of those guys where I don't know quite who he is either.
Right, and I would have still picked him to knock Johnny Walker's ass out like in a silly way.
Me too, silly ass knockout.
We would have
like fucking
whoa.
Looney Tunes ass knockout.
We would have learned a lot more about Bogdan Guskov. Billy Alicana is very solid, good finishing skills, but I still got to go Bogdan Guskov with the camp, first round knockout.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna go Guskov first round knockout. Billy Alicana, to me, if you're going for split decision wins, your best win of basically on your record is versus Chuck Campbell in a split decision in PFL. some years ago. Yeah, to me, Guskov, I expect him to be the more aggressive fighter. He's got more power. We've seen more from him in terms of an array of strikes. And yeah, more powerful, more active. Elikana is kind of more a methodical kind of fighter, right? And I just don't see that being a good game plan versus like you can be that if you also have like Alex Pereira is a methodical fighter, right? But
Yeah.
when you've got that much fucking power and you're a very very good elite power puncher and counter puncher, that's one thing, right? But when you're not that, it's a different story. Credit to Billy Elikana, right? He's making his UFC debut. It's massive, good for him. But yeah, I'm gonna go Guskov by knockout as well here.
This was Dana White's If You Don't Know, Now You Know, by the way. So
okay. Little bald fuck, who cares? No, I'm just imagine. All right, moving on to the next fight on the card. It's
I'm guessing. Yeah, let's go.
Jailton Almeida. He's taking on Sergey Spivak. Man, the odds are kind of crazy here, right? And they started at like -3 something. I want to say were like the opening odds, and it's grown. So look, man, Jailton Almeida. A lot of people don't like him, right? Because look, he moved up to the heavyweight division because it's basically a cheat code, right? And we've said this many times on this very show here, is if you have any sort of grappling skill, and if in general, if you have any skill and you're a big fucking dude, go try to give heavyweight MMA a chance. And he's basically doing that, right? He's undersized, but he's damn athletic and he's damn strong. He's a jiu-jitsu ace. His striking is whatever. He's got good power, though. But he's an athletic-ass guy. And to me, the athleticism is really going to be the difference here. I don't see Sergey Spivak, who's a plodding big man, just out grappling somebody like Jailton Almeida. And that's really his only path to victory. If they're going to keep it on the feet, Sergey Spivak will get chinned. I'm sorry. I don't really see that happening. I think we see Jailton Almeida getting him to the ground and beating him up a little bit there. And also, Sergey Spivak, for what it's worth, not a good defensive fighter on the feet either, right? So I could see a world where Almeida clips his chin too and knocks him out. For me, Almeida's gonna get the finish here. I'm gonna say in the first round, man. I'm gonna say in the first round. Spivak also has cardio issues, so if it goes later, I just don't see how Sergey Spivak survives this at all. The only question to me is really, is it going to be by sub or knockout? I'm going to go by late first round submission for Jailton Almeida here.
All right, DS, check this out. This is my upset of the week right here, bro. This is my big ass upset here. I'm going Sergey Spivak, and I'm gonna tell you why. 7-2 in his last 9 fights in the promotion. His only 2 losses coming to Cyril Gane and Tom Aspinall. So if you're gonna be losing to people, those are 2 pretty damn good people to lose to. Now, Sergey Spivak, a guy that's going to weigh in at around 245, 250. He's going to be slightly bigger than Jailton Almeida, but he's not going to be one of those super, super fat, sloppy motherfuckers at heavyweight, right? He's a little bit more in shape than those guys. And the thing that's swaying me for sure, man, last time out, we saw some great grappling from him, man. He pulled an armbar off against Marcin Tybura, who is a great grappler himself. And to get an armbar at heavyweight is something really fucking spectacular. Also, DS, I think if this stays on the feet, which Jailton Almeida is not going to want to keep this on the feet at all, he is going to shoot relentlessly until he gets one. Then he's going to waste the round on top. But if this stays on the feet for any amount of time, I think Sergey Spivak has more power. I don't think anything of Jailton Almeida stand up. So for me, I think Sergey Spivak is good enough to stuff some of the wrestling, kind of how Curtis Blades did in that second round. And if he finds himself in a situation like Curtis Blades was in the first round, I expect he has enough jiu-jitsu to survive that. So I'm going Jailton Almeida. I'm going Sergey Spivak, not Jailton Almeida. Sergey Spivak, I'm going round 2 TKO. I think it's going to be similar to the Curtis Blades.
Hey, and literally your tongue just gave you up, my boy. What's actually going to happen came out. So
that's not how it works. That's not how it works. Sergey Spivak is I'm confident in him. For a plus 350, I'm pretty confident. Almeida sucks on the feet, bro. He's so bad.
He's not good on the feet, technically, but he's got power. And Sergey Spivak has no cardio and doesn't like getting hit. But we'll see. I could be very wrong. And look, I'm not saying it's completely out of the realm of possibility. Jailton Almeida is not that good.
Right? And then when he gets people to the ground, he throws small punches, as they like to say.
For sure. Let's move on. Next fight on the card is Peyton Talbot. He's taking on Raoni Barcelos, and the odds on this are fucking crazy, dude. I've seen him as high as minus 1,500 already. What do you think is going to happen here, bro? You think Peyton Talbot's just going to walk through him like the odds say?
Hey, man, I talked about upsets. No, I'm not picking an upset. Look, Peyton Talbot, he's an undefeated prospect. He's a rising star. The UFC knows what they're doing, man. They want to set this kid up to win. The odds are fucking bananas because Raoni Barcelos is very dangerous for what that's worth. He's an old dude, but he is dangerous. Good striking, some solid power, good jiu-jitsu skills as any Brazilian should have. But to me, this is a setup fight, man. It's Peyton Talbot versus an old dude. And unfortunately, Raoni Barcelos has now become the guy that they're feeding to the young prospects. They already fed him to Umar. They're trying to do the same with Peyton Talbot. I think Barcelos is going to try to utilize the wrestling. I think that's the best approach for him. I just don't think it's going to work. Talbot is this kid's going to be something, man, and he's getting himself a knockout in this fight early round 2.
Yeah, look, man, I agree with you. I had round 2 knockout as well. Raoni Barcelos is good though, man. Like I know
he is really good.
18-5, not like a crazy array of people that he's fought, but a decent group of guys, right? Yes, he's 37 years old. Yes, he's taken a lot of damage. And Talbot is another guy who Rinya and Talbot are two of the brightest potential stars, and I hope they both win on this card for the sake of the future of the UFC and the sport. But man, I get minus 500, 600, 700. If I was handicapping this, I probably would have made it minus 500, something like that, right?
Yeah.
Minus 1,100, minus 1,500 is fucking crazy to me. It's almost enough to sway me to pick it. But again, we're not talking about betting here. We're just making our predictions. I'm going to go with Talbot by second round knockout too, man. But that's a steep, steep fucking price. And I don't think he's going to beat the fuck out of him for a round and then knock him out, right? Like, I think Raoni Barcelos will eventually get clipped. But, man, this is a big step up in competition. I will also say, from a matchmaking perspective, if you're trying to boost this kid up, this is like the perfect matchup, right? Yeah. This is perfect matchmaking to me. On a card like this, on a huge card, you put him towards the middle of the card as he is, and you give him somebody who's got some name value, but is obviously on the decline. But we haven't seen that decline like be so drastic yet. You know what I mean? So I think this is like perfect matchmaking.
Yeah, I mean, and a guy for what it's worth, DS and Raoni Barcelos, that had a lot of hype when he started his UFC career, right? Started like 5-0, 6-0, something like that. So he did get a bunch of name value built up at that time, and now he's older, and he's the guy they're feeding the prospects. So I get it. Great placement for Peyton Talbot. That he's the guy that you should be giving him the Bo Nickel treatment, right? You should be putting him on. I'm not saying he should be on main cards, neither should Bo Nickel, but this is the guy that you put on these massive cards.
Absolutely. All right, moving on to the next fight on the card, and that is
main card
opener. It's Kevin Holland. He's taking on RDR Rainier de Ritter. This is an interesting matchup, man. It's an interesting matchup. I'm not gonna lie. I wish more that this. Okay, let me put it this way. Had this been his debut fight for RDR in the UFC, I would have been higher on him in this, if that makes sense. Yes, he beat Gerald Meerschaert, but I wasn't impressed, man. I really wasn't impressed. And in particular, I thought he looked slow. I thought that he didn't look like he had any type of power. His striking was awkward. I don't know. I expected a lot more clean technique from RDR. And man, if we're talking from a pure striking perspective, Kevin Holland, I think, is going to be much faster, much more powerful, will pack a stronger punch for sure. And listen, I don't think I have to tell you guys now that Kevin Holland is not just a stand-up fighter, right? He's got good grappling. He's got good wrestling. He's got good scrambles. So to me, I mean, I think RDR's best chance to win this is to get it to the ground. But sure, we saw Kevin Holland get dominated by the likes of somebody like Hamzat. RDR is not Hamzat, right? And I don't know, man. Like originally, when I would have picked RDR here, but I feel pretty comfortable taking Kevin Holland. Honestly, I think he'll hold his own on the ground, and I think he'll get the better of him on the feet. The only thing with Kevin Holland, man, and you know what I'm going to say, and I say it every goddamn time, is intention, right? And is the mental. Like if you don't care to win, and you yourself are telling me that, or you don't care about anything else, you care about the paycheck, right? And like you always say something to kind of take your own legs out, right? How can I be that confident in you, right? So that's the thing with Kevin Holland for me. Other than that, I feel very. If Kevin Holland was the kind of guy who's like, I'm gonna fuck this guy up, like, and I know he was talking shit and all this, but like if he was somebody who's committed and he's got the talent, right? Like if he's going for it, fine. But he's just not that. So that's the only question mark for Kevin Holland for me. But I'm gonna go Kevin Holland by second round TKO.
All right, DS. I'm going to put it to you this way, man. I did a super long breakdown about this fight on my Quick Picks video, which is going to be linked down below. I mean, I agree with damn near everything you said. And just as a quick disclaimer, I think every fight on this main card, all 5 of them, are damn near 50-50. If not, they're like 55-45 kind of fights in terms of percentage, right? That I'm confident in. And one thing I will point out, I think hindsight is going to be very clear by the time this card is done on each one of these 5 fights. And it's going to be like, yeah, of course that guy won because this guy has these fucking flaws, right? I think all 5 fights are like that. I'm not going to waste too much time talking about this fight. Like I said, I broke it down in the quick picks. I'm flip-flopping. And I said I've been flip-flopping on it all week. I'm going Kevin Holland round 1 KO. I had RDR winning it originally. I had Kevin Holland winning it before that. I'm just going with Kevin Holland. He like RDR striking looked so goddamn bad.
Bro, he like eye test wise, I don't know like if he was nervous or what, but like dude did not look good. He did not look like somebody that looked that like I should be watching out for. That looked like an exciting
that was a
new
double champ at 1. You know what I mean?
Like bro, Mearshot is a known slow starter, right? And sure, he's still he's still a dog, right? Like people hate on him because all people remember is the Hamzat knockout, and I get it, but dude, like I don't know, like I get double champ. Like look, you can't take that away from him. He's still only 34 years old, but I don't know, man. Like eye test wise, like dude did not, unless he was saving something and like just you know what I mean. I could see that being the case. I could see it being that like there maybe some nerves, UFC. Like even at the press conference today, he was kind of like, wow, like this is like you could tell he was taking in the moment. It's a lot bigger than it usually is for him, and he sees that and recognizes it. And maybe there is some of that. And I wouldn't be shocked if that ends up happening. But just, man, I can only go off what you've shown me. And he just looked slow, looked awkward. Like, he looked Drickus awkward, but without the explosion and, like, craziness in your face, right? Like, so.
And that's what Robert Whitaker compared his striking a little bit to Drickus, so which is weird. But
oh, did he really?
Yeah.
How cute are fucking okay? I know the massive card and all this, but how cute are those two?
These guys right here.
Yeah, they're adorable, dude.
I love it.
2 of my favorites. Like I love that, and the fact that Rob's like, nah, like I can't fight him now. Like I don't like that's adorable, dude. Did you see the one where Izzy gave him? He thought he's like Rob was looking down. He's like this coffee's green. Izzy's like, that's because it's matcha. It just starts rolling.
This guy's like, what do you? He's like, did you guys lure me here to get rid of me?
Yeah, he just thought like they just got his ass, like poisoned him real quick. Light flashed before his eyes and shit. But anyway. All right. We're in the top 4, ladies and gents. 4 from the top is your boy, an Assyrian, Beneil Dariush at plus 45. He's taking on Money Moicano, who I know is another one of your guys. Dino, how do you see this fight going? Or is this me?
It's me. But look, DS, I think this is a great matchup, man. It makes a lot of sense, right? 2 dudes that are definitely a little older, kind of going the opposite way, right? Beneil Dariush on a 2-fight losing streak. Renato Moicano, again, famously cannot afford to lose right now. He's been winning some fights, man. And the 300 fight keeps playing in my head every time I think of Renato Moicano. Jalen Turner had his ass out of there, made a stupid mistake, and then this guy came back and found himself a finish. Look, Beneil Dariush, a former no-gi world champion, so Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champion, unbelievable grappler, great scrambles. On the feet, he's awkward, but he's got some pop to him, Beneil Dariush, right? I think of the Gamrot knockdown, think of the knockout of Drakkar Klose, the knockout of Scott Holtzman. Tends to find big moments in fights that he wins. And, of course, his last 2 fights, not so good for him. But he was fighting the best of the best, right? Charles Dubronx and Arman Tsarukyan, who was fighting for a title a few fights after this. Renato Moicano, great grappler, long body, decent striking, kind of underrated striking. I think last time out, absolutely dominated your boy BSD. just mauled the shit out of him. Elite control
That
on the
was
ground.
that was so crazy. That was like not quite in the level of Sean Strickland beating the fuck out of Izzy for 5 rounds, but fuck, dude, like it kind of felt like that, where it was like, not only is he winning, he's beating the fuck out of this guy.
He beat the dog shit out of him, mauled him. And one thing that Moicano has, man, on the ground, he's super dangerous, great, like unbelievable, elite caliber control on the ground, great jujitsu. Look, both of these guys have been knocked out, man. To me, the question of this fight is their chins. Both of them are kind of chinny guys. I mean, you look back, Moicano's had a bunch of knockout losses. Beneil obviously coming off of 2 knockout losses. So that's the question to me here. I don't think Renato Moicano is going to be able to hold Beneil Dariush down, take him down, hold him there like he's done to some of these other guys. Beneil Dariush is not staying on the ground with anybody. Nobody's holding his ass down there at 155. So I think a lot of this fight takes place on the feet, or maybe Benny goes for a couple takedowns. I'm going upset here, DS. Yes, I have a horse in the race. I am biased, but I think Beneil Dariush is a better striker. I think he has more pop. I think he actually is going to flatline Renato Moicano. Beneil Dariush, round 2 knockout. I think Moicano's just more chinny.
Yeah, look, man, I still hold BSD in high regard, right? So I don't think just because he lost to Poirier and Moicano, shockingly, and it didn't look good, right? But I still hold him in high regard. So, man, the real question mark here to me is Beneil Dariush, right? It's because you look at his last 2 fights, right? And it's literally two of the greatest in the fucking
number
weight
1
class.
and number 2.
Number 1 and number 2, literally. And even all time, you know, if you're talking about skill for skill, 2 of the best guys in the weight class all time. And argue with your mother, right? I'm not saying that, you know, like I get people who paved the way and all this shit. I'm not saying that. But yeah, look, man, to me, Dariush is the question mark here, right? He's on the downside of his career. He's been chinny at times. Like even when he's been at his prime, right? He's been inconsistent. It's like sometimes he shows up, he shows crazy power, like damn near Gaethje levels of like damage with each punch done, right? And he's got the grappling, he's got the wrestling to back it up too. He's one of the most well-rounded fighters in the division, probably the most perennially slept on guy of the last 10 years in the lightweight division, I think, without a doubt. And then you have Moicano too, right? Where it's like both these guys are kind of good at the same thing, man. And Moicano is the younger guy. He's the hot pick. He's the up and comer, right? He's the guy who's hungry.
He's
He's
younger.
the hungry.
He's younger by 14 days, by the way. Tweak off that.
That's crazy. Sorry,
Yeah.
I guess I meant more like he hasn't been here yet, right? Like Beneil is an old, you know, he's an older.
Right.
There might be the same age, but it doesn't feel the same, right? And Beneil will tell you that himself, I think. So Moicano is just now getting his real shot, and his YouTube show and his ability on the mic and his love for America is obviously is helping him and all that. So look, this is another one of those every single fight moving after this, and this one included, is now 50-50 to me, right? So I'm going to pick Moicano. I'm going to pick Moicano by decision. I don't love the cardio of Beneil in recent times. He was beating the fuck out of Charles Oliveira for the first like half of the first round, right? He got him in top position, and he was beating up on him. And then he almost seemed to tire like in that first round. So I don't know, man. Is his head still in it? I feel like, does Beneil really think he has a shot still? Moicano has all the confidence in the world. I can see this going either way, man. I don't want to give you a whole long-winded thing because at the end of the day, it's really 50-50 to me, no matter what I say. I'm going to go Moicano, but, man, I could see any array of outcomes here. I could see pretty much the only outcome I don't really see is Moicano chinning Beneil. Everything else I think is possible.
Yeah, and like we were saying, man, I honestly, I agree with you. I think every fight, 50-50, damn near.
Yep. All right, let's move on. And this is a big one, man. This is a big one, and it's a big one for me, right? Look, Jamal Hill has really good boxing. He's gotten chinned by Alex Pereira, and then he had like a mental breakdown after that. And maybe he won't call it that, but that's kind of what it appears like to just the general public watching it happen, right? Yuri Prochazka, man, you love him, fan favorite. He's unbelievable. There's a reason this fight's a pick'em, right? Both these guys have questionable chins at this point. Both of these guys have some really big wins, right? And both of these guys have kind of managed to stay out of each other's way up until now. this might be the fight I'm most excited about on this entire card, believe that or not. And it's 50-50 as shit, man. It really is. And like you talk about heart, right? These guys both have an incredible amount of heart, right? You look at Yuri's last fight, the fight before Alex with Rakic, right? I mean, he's got a lot of heart, man. He was losing that fight. He was getting beat up on. He was losing that fight. He was getting beat up on, and then to still come back and get the win, unbelievable. One of the fights of the year for me. Jamal Hill, man, we haven't seen him since the Alex Pereira fight. He was injured. You know, he's had a couple injuries now that he's been nursing. Yuri has the wider array of strikes, right? He's going to throw more elbows and he's going to use his limbs more, whereas Jamal Hill is basically just a boxer. Power advantage with the hands, purely, I think it's Jamal Hill's way. It's tough for me, man. It's tougher. Look, at the end of the day, I'm going to go Jamal Hill. I'm going to go Jamal Hill by third round. I'm going to go third round TKO for Jamal Hill. And the main reason is what we've seen with Yuri over and over again is that he fucking hates keeping his hands up. And he does. And yes, he mentioned that specifically this week. But bro, like it's not as easy when you've been fighting for so long to now change something so fundamental about your game, right? And he's so creative, and he like look at the finish of Dominic Reyes, right? Who's also on the up and up again now. So look, man, I could tell you all the shit that I want to say, but at the end of the day, who the fuck knows? Truly, I can't wait to watch this fight. But I just think that Jamal Hill's going to get this win, man, and I think he's going to get the finish. And then after that, what's next for Yuri? I would hate to see it happen, but somebody has to lose here.
Yeah, look, DS, again, 50-50 type of fight, man, and I'll tell you why. Look, Jamal Hill, yes, he's got some power, but the reason, and you know, quick disclaimer, huge Yuri Prochazka fan. I am picking Yuri in this one, and I'm going to point out why I see that happening. Jamal Hill's power, yes, he has some good power in his hands, but I think he's going to have to knock Yuri Prochazka out with one shot, and he's probably going to have to do it early, which is why you surprised me by saying Jamal Hill round 3 KO. I think if Jamal Hill wins this fight, it's going to be a very quick finish for him. He's just going to start Yuri, one-shot him kind of early on. Because the way Yuri Prochazka fights, yes, he takes a ton of damage, but the way Yuri Prochazka wins his fights is taking that same damage and then beating the shit out of you, right? Nobody's going to outlast the guy, I feel like, in like a tit-for-tat kind of thing. And Jamal Hill's power, to me, is maybe a little overrated, right? Like, yes, he has some great knockouts, but who were they against, right? It was against Johnny Walker. It was against Jimmy Crute and a 40-year-old Thiago Santos. You look at Yuri's knockouts. It's against Volkan Oezdemir, who's a top 5 guy still right now. It was against Dominic Reyes, man, who was one fight removed from fighting for the title at that point. I think Yuri has the better strength of schedule. I think he knows there's some shit he has to fix. And I think he's more dangerous and more dedicated than Jamal Hill. I don't know how serious Jamal Hill takes this shit, man. He's turning fans off really damn.
Well, I think you could say that about anybody that Yuri versus pretty much anybody.
It's the same fight, right? It's the breakdown. The breakdown of Yuri is the breakdown of Yuri. Yeah, I just don't. I'm not. You know, it is what it is. I'm not impressed with Jamal Hill's resume, to be honest with you. They both have a win over Glover Teixeira, and then I think Yuri's wins are better than that career-wise, not just in the UFC.
But Yuri almost got finished by Glover.
Yeah. But, you know, that was a 5-round war. How similar was that Glover to the Glover that fought Jamal Hill?
Jamal Hill beat the shit out of Glover.
Yeah, 7 months later. But he didn't finish Glover Teixeira at 44 years old, right? So I think the power is a little overstated with Jamal Hill.
But he beat the shit out of him. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, and the Jimmy Crute fight, was that yeah, he just knocked his ass out, right? He sparked Jimmy Crute and then Johnny Walker, of course.
Yeah, Jimmy Crute. Yeah.
What a fucking fall off for Jimmy Crute, by the way. But yeah, this fight is going to be nerve-wracking.
Bro got dead-legged and then literally did nothing after that.
He just gave up on life.
Yep.
Yeah, Yuri, I'm going Yuri round 2 TKO. I think the later this gets, the better it is for Yuri. I think the earlier it finishes.
I agree with that. I don't think Jamal Hill's completely out of it late because
of course not.
Propensity to make stupid mistakes and leave his hands down, especially as the fight wears on. But for this, again, Yuri is, for the same reasons that he's good and we love him, is for the same reasons that he loses fights.
He's terrible defensively. So
Yeah.
you would hope that after getting chinned by Alex at this point twice, that he figures some shit out because you can't be fucking doing that at 205.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Co-main event. Merab Dvalishvili taking on Umar Nurmagomedov. This is Merab's first title defense, and very interestingly, he is a sizable underdog here. But
Yeah.
Dina Bam Bam, how do you see this playing out?
A couple quick things, man. With Merab Dvalishvili, man, the UFC obviously doing kind of, famously what they did to Aljo, right? Forcing him to take this fight, not on his terms, not on his time, versus an opponent that he doesn't necessarily want to fight at this time. So,
Well, did they try to make it in like fucking December?
yeah, they tried to make it in December. Marab wasn't going. He said he wanted until March, and they just kind of strong armed him, man, the same way they did with Aljo. Now, here's the thing, DS. Merab Dvalishvili, the new champion, man, a great wrestler, great cardio, as we know, just relentless with the takedowns, right? He's going to shoot for takedowns nonstop. If you stuff him 95 times, he's going to shoot that 96 takedown and finally get it. That's his fight style. On the feet, he's just okay, nothing special at all. He has shown some weaknesses in the stand-up game to the left hook primarily. We've seen him get wobbled by that a handful of times, and that's what he's going to have to watch out for, right? Because Umar Nurmagomedov is going to be the better striker in this one. Umar Nurmagomedov is a good wrestler. He is a Nurmagomedov. He's going to have Habib in his corner. It's a very interesting matchup, man. I think both of these guys are capable of winning. I just think that Marab's intensity at this point, DS, he is fueled up, man. At first, he looked scared to me. He looked scared of taking this matchup. He looked concerned about this matchup. It seems like over this last week and a half to 2 weeks, the confidence of Marab has skyrocketed, whereas Umar has maybe come down a little bit in his confidence.
I think both of them, they both seem, I don't know, Umar seems supremely confident.
But I feel like still just a small downtick. I'm not saying he's not confident in himself. He fully
No,
believes he can win this fight. Look, I'm going with Merab Dvalishvili. I think we're going to see what happens. We're going to see what he said, right? I don't believe that. I think Umar Nurmagomedov is phenomenal. I just don't think he's deserved it yet. Is he probably the right guy for the title shot? Yes, because nobody else is really that deserving. But he never deserved the fight against Corey Sandhagen. I think Merab proves what he's trying to prove, gets himself a decision win. By the way, 2 more points on this. Decision is crazy because if it goes 5, the UFC is going to try their hardest to get Merab, away from the belt. And then the second thing is Merab showing up with that gnarly ass cut on his shin. You mentioned we're in California. If this fucking fight stops because Merab's shin is bleeding,
it's gushing, yeah.
I'm losing my shit. So Merab Dvalishvili by decision. Let's please not have it end that way.
Yeah, man, look, another 50-50 one, right? Merab is relentless, but Umar has good cardio. Now, I do think that Merab has better cardio. Umar is better on the feet. Umar's got really good kicks. Umar made fairly easy work of Corey Sandhagen. In a way, I feel like Corey Sandhagen was, there was the threat of the takedown and all that too, right? So Corey Sandhagen kind of, not that I wasn't impressed by Umar. It's just that I thought that there was a portion of it where it was like, come on, Corey. Like, you could have gone for it a little bit more, especially at the end there, brother.
That fight, DS, I'm sorry to cut you off. You're 1,000% right. Just a lackluster ass performance from Corey Sandhagen there. And the problem with it was exactly what you're saying. He was so worried about the takedowns of Umar, which he should have been, but he never let go in that fight. We never got to see the free Sandhagen.
Yeah, exactly. He was tense the whole time.
Yeah.
Never let it loose. I don't think Merab will have that problem, man. I keep having this image in my head of Merab. Now, here's one thing with Umar, right? He's very, very defensively sound, right? On the feet especially. Merab loves to throw that like overhand and then shoot, right? So I think Merab will get Umar down. I think he will. I don't think this is going to be one where Merab struggles to get Umar down. I don't think he's going to get him down at will. Umar is a very good wrestler himself, but Umar started as a striker, right? So it's interesting because you have 2 guys that are both well-rounded, both, very good at everything. Umar's got a little bit of length on him, but yeah, it's like one is like the natural wrestler, one is the natural striker, interestingly enough. But, it's a tough one, man. It really is. I keep going back and forth because I keep having this image in my head of like Merab just overwhelming Umar, and like you wouldn't expect it to, but I could kind of see it. but I'm gonna go with Umar, man. I just think he's gonna land more shots. He's gonna land enough and be defensively sound enough. I think we see a fairly defensive fight from Umar, if that makes sense. And I think he'll do enough to outpoint Merab in this one. I could see it being not exciting until the 5th round.
Fair. Yeah, I mean, again, 50-50. I think every fight on this card, DS, I think it, like, I can see both outcomes. I can see both outcomes.
Yep. All right. Let's move on to the main event.
One more thing, DS. My bad. Sorry to cut you off. One more thing.
Yeah.
I just wanted to throw this in there. It just came back to me. Look, I think the UFC, by throwing Merab Dvalishvili in this, at this card quickly, kind of against Umar Nurmagomedov, again, we know what they want to do, right? They want Umar as the champion. They want to get rid of Merab for whatever reason. Here's the thing, though, man. Merab is not Aljo, right? The fans hated Aljo. I'm a huge Aljo guy, as you know. The fans hated him. They had their reason. It was the Peter Yan thing. It was the acting. It was the fact that he was cringy and all that. Merab Dvalishvili has brought some attention to this weight class in a very positive way. He's entertaining on social media. He's funny. He's quirky. Yes, does he have his flaws? He gets pissed off at everything, and he's sort of a hothead and kind of loses his shit and mumbles and drags on about shit all the time. But Merab Dvalishvili has been more entertaining as a champion in these 3 months than Sean O'Malley was. And Sean O'Malley was supposed to be the star for the UFC. So I think the UFC is making a big mistake by not giving Merab a layup in his first title defense, because this is a guy that could have done some shit for the division. And if he wins, he still can, obviously, but just a tough spot to put him in.
Yep.
True that.
My apologies. 1 second, bro. All right. Obviously, main event of the evening, and it goes without saying, but I'll say it's Islam Makhachev. He is taking on the challenger Arman Tsarukyan. This is, of course, a rematch. What, 6 years in the making?
Yep.
These guys have each had, Islam had what, like 10, 11 fights. Arman's had like 10 fights since. Look, man, and of course, close fight the first time around, but it's Arman Tsarukyan's only UFC loss is to Islam Makhachev. Look, man,
he technically lost to Gamrot, which was bullshit.
Well, that was fucking bullshit.
Yeah, it was a bullshit decision.
Yeah, but thank you for that. But yeah, you know what I meant. Yeah, look, man, we know who Islam is. We know who Arman is. Look, for me, I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm going with Arman Tsarukyan, man. I really am. And I feel like not like I don't know. I'm getting visions this week, brother. I'm getting some visions. I just see it happening, bro. I think Arman's best bet is to fucking blitz Islam here. Blitz the shit out of him and put it on him with the striking. I think, look, Islam, you said something earlier this week about how Islam is he's a good striker, but like his striking is now like overrated. It's become overrated to the it's like, well, he's probably the best Dagestani striker, but like that's like a tallest midget in the room situation. No disrespect. I think Arman is ready. Look at what he did to Charles Oliveira. Sure, they both did it. I just think that he is for sure better on the feet. Let's talk about the array of strikes. Power, I think it's fairly even, quite frankly. I don't know, man. It's something in me, and this is more feel than anything. Again, it's a 50-50 ass fight. I can see it going any which way. I don't really see Islam knocking out Arman. I guess I could see that too, like a TKO. I could really see any type of finish or decision win in this one. I'm going to go Arman Tsarukyan by decision, man. I just think he's going to do better on the feet. And is Islam's cardio a little bit, not bad, but is it like maybe not the best? We'll find out. I'm going Arman Tsarukyan by decision.
Yeah, so the questions on Islam's cardio. I think he's got great cardio. The thing is, right, we've seen him in 2 of his last 3 fights go to that 5th round and really look, worse for wear, right? Against Poirier, he looked tired. A lot of people attribute that to the staph infection that he had. Against Volk, he was fucking exhausted in the last 2 minutes of that fight. So maybe he has like 23-minute cardio, right? But, I mean, we'll see, man. At this point, DS, I know Arman Tsarukyan has a lot going for him. He's a phenomenal grappler. He's going to be the best grappler that Islam has fought in a very long time. Volk surprised us, right? Notoriously, a guy that's not a grappler was able to do just fine in that first fight. And then Dustin Poirier kind of held his own, especially as the fight started going on into that, that fourth round, fourth round. Dustin Poirier looked good in the grappling. Arman Tsarukyan has some good power. I get it, DS, but I just can't pick against Islam Makhachev, man. He's the number one pound for pound guy.
And look, I get in a 50-50 fight, what you should do is pick Islam Makhachev. I'm purely from like if I'm at 50-50, what's swaying me is just that random feel, like that punch.
And a lot of people are picking Arman Tsarukyan, and I could see it. Chip on his shoulder. It's been 5 years since he tasted, like actual defeat, and it was from Islam Makhachev. It's a guy that he's been basically hunting for 5 years now. He's getting his shot at the title. He's getting his shot at redemption here. I could see it again, 50-50 on every fight on here, but I think I just have to give it to Islam Makhachev. I think one thing that Islam Makhachev does better than anybody these last few years is he has such a good sense of the round, right? He's a very smart fighter. We always say that, but he has such great round sense in terms of.
You broke that down to me the other day, and that was such a well eloquated point. That was perfect.
Thank you. I think he knows how to win rounds, right? He's not as unstoppable as Khabib was. I don't think he's as good a wrestler. I don't think he's as a dominant force as Khabib was. But what he does is win rounds, man. He knows how to take these close rounds and sway them to his advantage. So I am ultimately going Islam Makhachev. Originally, I was thinking like a round 2, round 3 TKO for Islam. I'm kind of all over the board. I could see him maybe getting that knockout. I could see him getting a sub. I could see a decision. Ultimately, I'm going to say a late finish for Islam Makhachev. I'll go TKO, but it could just as well be a sub or a decision. Yeah, man. But how crazy would it be? By the way, we're differing on both of these fights. How crazy would it be if Umar is the one that ends up with a belt and Islam is the one without a belt by the end of this?
I like that we each picked one Georgian and one Dagestani, though.
Equality. That's what we're here for. It's just 4 motherfuckers from different sides of the mountain, bro.
Hey, they're literally on the Caucasus Mountains are literally the only thing in between them. That's it.
Right.
And religion, I guess.
Right. Religion, culture, fucking animosity. There's a lot of shit going into these 2 fights. There's a lot of shit going into them. This card's gonna be fucking nervous. I'm already nervous. It's Thursday.
Yep.
I'm shook.
Yep.
I'm shook. Nobody fucking talk to me on Saturday. Leave me alone.
Well, I'll let you take us out. I gotta dip out.
All right. Well, if you guys enjoyed, hey, do us a favor. Help us get to that 1,000. DS is going to pop a titty out for you if we get to 1,000. So help us get there. Press the subscribe button. Hit the little thumbs up. Leave a comment. Who do you think is going to win the main event? Who do you think is going to win the co-main event? And then fuck it. If you want to talk about Yuri and Jamal Hill, let's do that too. Some comments would be nice. Also, you can follow us on Instagram at D107MMA, like the thing at the bottom says. I'm going full screen. I don't know where the fuck DS went, but if you guys enjoyed, do all that shit. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.